a diversification of talent, expertise, and lived experience. My friend, that's the key to business diversification and success. Your life experience often forms the passion and purpose that you set out for your life. We follow those to a T, hopefully, because each and every one of us is entitled to our own level of prosperous expectations for our contributions to the rest of the world. If you fundamentally take that notion to be true, then the longevity of your purpose will stand the test of time. And this afternoon, I want to bring you the story of my friend Jeremy Ryan, who has an unmatched competitive spirit and with a desire to achieve the best in every aspect of his level of hope. Not only for himself, but for his young family and those who depend on him as a difference maker of great strength, talented invention, and more. You see, Ryan is a former professional surfer turned entrepreneur. His ambition in and out of the water is truly remarkable. He's the founder of 3 separate businesses, including his own surf school. He lives on the coast of California, living his best life, teaching people how to surf, how to live their best life through an entrepreneurial lens, and so much more. Ruett has had the privilege of traveling all over the world to surf competitively and to have life experiences that most can only have the fortunate privilege to dream of. And for Ryan, he's had the chance to live out some of the most authentic experiences ever. And he joined me this week to determine my level of interest in his remarkable and thought-provoking story. And he shared some of his favorite memories as a surfer and how he's made a successful transition to the field of entrepreneurship and how he's thriving as a solopreneur. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Jeremy, if you're ready, I'll take a moment to welcome you to the program, and I'm super excited to learn how a surfer turns into an entrepreneur, my friend. I'm super excited to learn about your journey this afternoon, and I want to thank you for being here.
I'll give you a quick rundown. So basically, I surfed professionally my whole life. My whole life since I was 12 was basically just surf, surf, surf all day, surf, surf, surf. I fell in love with it, and I knew I wanted to become a professional at some point in my life. And then when I turned 18, I ended up actually having a big breakthrough win, which I won a national championship as an amateur. And so from that, I was able to actually go on to turn pro. I got sponsors that would pay me, and I was able to like travel around the world. And what happened was when I was 30, the company I was riding for that was paying me went bankrupt. So I got stuck in this situation where I was out of a sponsor, didn't go to college, so all my work and effort throughout my years as a youth was like to become an amazing surfer and didn't plan. I didn't figure this could happen. And so what happened was when they went bankrupt, I was like, man, what am I going to do? Because all I really want to do is just surf every day. Like that's all I want to do. Like I don't want to work. I don't want to do anything. I don't want responsibility. I just want to surf. But I'm like, okay, how do I do this? So being 30 years old in the surf world is considered like over the hill, too old. Okay. So I knew I had to figure out another way to like make money if I wanted to sustain that lifestyle of surfing every day. So what I did was I I was always into art and design. So I ended up going back to school and I went to school for graphic design and marketing. So I did that. It was like a year and a half program. And then I came out and then I started my own design agency. And so that was kind of my first idea, like light bulb moment of like, okay, I can work from anywhere in the world. I could be in Australia surfing. I could bring my laptop and I could be helping clients and do work for them. So that's really what transitioned me from like surfing all the time into that entrepreneurial lifestyle.
Yeah, and just before we dive into the entrepreneurial lifestyle, my friend, I'm also curious to ask you about the mindset that a surfer has to have to be a successful from a sustainable standpoint. What sort of a mindset do you think any a successful surfer has to have?
Yeah, so it's changed quite a bit from when I was younger. You know, when I was younger, if you trained, that means you like did push-ups and jumping jacks. Like it wasn't as rigorous and strategic as far as the training programs go nowadays, where nowadays you have Olympic coaches that are coming in and helping these athletes. You're eating well, you're mentally strong. Like 90% of surfing and surf competitions is all mental. You know, if you're confident and you have a good game plan, you can do really well. So it's really just strong mental game, eating well, and just training, and not just training hard, but training the right way is really what
Yeah,
gets you. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And do you think adrenaline can be a competitive advantage or a competitive ally for a surfer?
You know, I think yes and no. So if you're, let's say you're a big wave surfer and you have to surf the waves that are like life threatening, I think adrenaline really comes into play. I think if you're surfing just competitive and high performance, you need to be able to control that adrenaline. So you got to get your heart rate down between waves. You got to be able to like calm yourself down and strategically keep your body at an optimal level. But yes, I do think there's certain times when you need that extra adrenaline to really push through and do some like amazing things.
And in terms of a diet or nutritional perspective, what sort of a diet or nutritional value did you have when you were still competitively surfing, my friend?
Okay. Yeah. So, ah man, when I was younger, I didn't I never had a coach, so I didn't really have a lot of great guidance. I would always eat my parents raised me eating well, like well-rounded meals and stuff, but I was never really into complete health like as I am now. Like right now, I eat really clean. I try to avoid sugar at all costs. I avoid, like bad fats. I'm very in tune with like health and nutrition now that I'm older because I know now because I still compete. I'm still competing in events. It's just not, I'm not going globally. I'm just doing local California events, but I still want to be at an optimal level. So I know like for me as I'm getting older, I need to make sure that I'm you know, adding good nutrients into my body to make sure I can withstand, you know, the kind of battling the father time here with, as I'm getting older. But, yeah, I would say, I mean, I really just, eat light, don't eat too many fatty food or not fatty, but too many like greasy foods that kind of don't digest well. Because when I was younger and I was surfing 3 times a day. So I had to make sure I was feeling light, feeling good, feeling energized. And so that was probably back then, that was probably the only thing I was really truly doing.
Yeah, and in terms of your definition of success, both in business life and from your competitive athlete days, my friend, I'm curious to ask you, what does sustainable success look like from you in terms of a definition, my friend? How do you define sustainable success?
Sustainable success. So, I mean, one thing that I've learned after starting an agency, and I also have a clothing line. I also I also teach now. I have a surf school. The one thing that I've learned just with these three businesses is that, and even my surf career, like it takes time. You know, there's no quick fix. There's no quick get rich quick scheme. There's no like I'm gonna build this and just grow it in like a year. It's like it takes time to really grow something big that's successful. And I just think you have to be patient and you have to just be consistent, really.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And during your time as a surfer, my friend, I know that you had a chance to travel all over the place and compete. So tell me about some of your favorite surfing memories and some of the favorite places you had a chance to visit.
Yeah, for sure. I would say my absolute favorite place that I did visit was Indonesia, and that was it was a boat trip where we literally lived on a boat for 2 weeks and just traveled to all these different amazing little small islands and just surfed every day, like a different spot every day. That was like the most beautiful scenery I've ever seen. And then the other trip that was really amazing, which I didn't think it was going to be all that great because it's cold, was Ireland. I went to Ireland and it was cold. It was really cold, but the waves were insane. It was a really and so much history. Like we're surfing at spots where there's like a broken down castle right there on the beach. Like just pretty crazy to just see in person. So those are my favorite right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And we never know what sort of life experiences will come our way, right? So we always have to be open to new experiences, right?
Exactly. Exactly. 100%.
Absolutely. And Joey, as you mentioned, you currently own and operate three different businesses. So I'm curious to ask you about career diversification and what it means to you to be a diversified business owner, because I know you went through quite the transition after your surfing or your competitive surfing career was over, and uh, sort of finding your identity again. So I'm wondering if you can share just a little bit more about the process you went through, my friend.
Yeah, so it's funny. Each business kind of came together just organically. So when I went back and did the design agency, you know, I was working with brands, I was working with clothing brands and at the time I didn't have a sponsor. You know, I didn't have a new sponsor by then and I was like thinking like why don't I just start my own company? Like I know how to build out designs, I know how to order products, I know how to do all this stuff. So I just created my own company, which is this one right here, the logo that you see on my hat, and like this is a shirt that I've done and so yeah, I just make my own stuff now and sponsor myself and for me it's more of a passion. I just love it whether it turns into something big or not. I'm always going to make clothes for myself and for my friends. So that's kind of the goal to that. And then when I when COVID hit, so when COVID hit, you know, all the kids, none of the kids could go to summer camp. The beaches were closed. Like so many things were closed. And then the first thing that opened was beaches and in California. And so I had a lot of parents asking me like, "Hey, would you teach my son how to surf or my daughter how to surf?" And so that's really what got me into now teaching. And now I have a surf school where I teach. Last year I did over 200 lessons. So I've been really busy. It's super rewarding for me. I love it. I love being at the beach. I love teaching showing people teaching people how to do the thing that I love the most in my life, like as far as passion goes. Like there's something about surfing that's always drawn me to the ocean and and yeah, so yeah, it's all kind of been organic, it's all kind of came from one other aspect in my life.
Yeah, and Jeremy, since you brought up the community that you're a part of with the surf school, my friend, I'm a big believer in the power of inclusion. And Jeremy, I'll tell you that I was born with cerebral palsy, my friend, and I was told at the age of 9 that I wouldn't be able to walk for the duration of my life because of the severity of my disability. But I love to go. It's not surfing, but I love to go swimming because my muscles aren't as tense, or the gravity of sort of earth goes away from me, and it's easier for me to move around in the water. So I'm curious to ask you about the a sense of inclusivity that your surfing community provides to you, and how proud you are of the fact that you've created something that can bring such a sense of connection to so many people. Tell me your thoughts there as well.
Yeah, the surf community is definitely a small community, and is as large as it is, it's still it's crazy how we all think the same. Like when you're a true surfer, okay, like let's say you're you just love to surf, you try to surf like 5 days a week if you can, right? Everyone's busy, everyone has to work, but the goal is like once you get that bug where you're just like, I just want to go surf again, like you just get out of the water, you have an amazing time, and you can't wait for the next session. Okay, there's like a it's funny, there's like there's a certain connection that you just know that that person is feeling, because I always say this. I say surfing is a blessing and a curse at the same time. And the reason why I say this is once you get addicted to surfing and you love surfing, it's so dependent on the conditions and the swell size, and so you can look at these like charts where you can see like, okay, the swell is this size at this direction, so this beach will have the best waves. So it becomes this like search, and you're constantly searching for the best ride, and everyone's all these doing it as well. So you're looking for opportunity where it's not crowded. You're looking for so you're constantly hunting and seeking. And the worst thing ever, like in my life, the worst thing is when I'm working and I know I gotta work, and then I'm getting phone calls from people saying, "Oh my God, the waves are so good right here, right now. Come surf," and I can't do it. So that that's something across the board that any true surfer is gonna they can, that feeling of missing out. It's like the it's a FOMO that it's hard because it it could be good tomorrow and then not be good for another week.
Oh, well,
So, yeah.
life is all about opportunities, isn't it?
Right.
Abs-
Exactly.
Absolutely. And Joey, what do you think it means to be an elite competitor, both in life, business, and sports, my friend? So, how do you define an elite competitor?
A lead competitor, I just think you need to have the confidence. You need to be optimistic. You need to be confident, and you need to have a certain mindset that just knows that you need to keep pushing forward, and you can't. I'm trying to think of the term. I don't want to say weak, but you have to be mentally strong and know you're going to face setbacks. You're not going to be winning all the time. You're going to face loss, and you have to just like move past those and learn from mistakes and keep pushing and know that's the process. It's the game. Like the one I forgot who told me this, but I heard this a long years ago, and I've never forgot it. Never forgot this saying. And professionals follow a process, amateurs look at the results. So you really need to understand that it's a long-term process. You need to follow it. You need to keep going. And if you stick to it, you will get the results in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think the same principle applies in business and really becoming a diversified sort of a business thinker, my friend? Do you think the same principle applies in business?
I do. I think it's the same. And I think everything that it all comes together, right? So your health is important. If you want to be having your brain firing nonstop all day with new issues, if it's work related, and just be able to keep going and not burn out, you got to take care of your health. You got to eat right. You got to do exercise, do things that are going to help your mind as well to like keep pushing through because it's mentally, draining. At least for me, like I have three businesses, and sometimes at 8 at night, I'm sit there and I'm just like, oh, I just want to relax, and I do. I find time to like meditate and mellow it out, but my brain is always going. Like it just doesn't stop. And I do think there is too much, and if you're not mentally in the right space, like I always eat. I make sure I try to eat foods that are good for my brain development. So like or recovery. So like omega 3s, lots of fish, certain things that can kind of help like calm me down and like recover because yeah, I can get burnt out so easily.
Yeah, absolutely. And ironically enough, my friend, that was my next question about work-life balance, my friend, because you work three businesses, my friend. So, what do you think is the key to finding work-life balance, and how do you connect with your inner center when everything around you is sort of caving in? How do you reconnect with yourself?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I've had a lot of life changes this past year. So my wife and I have a baby boy. It just turned 1 year. And so that's been a huge life change. So this year has been, I would say, the hardest as far as mental consistency and just not having burnout. So the first, when my son was born, it's like the first 3 months, 3 or 4 months, I mean, we're like on no sleep. It was really hard to function, um, so yeah, I mean, I have to make sure that I find time to hang out with my son and my wife, and I work less. I do put in less energy towards work now, but the way I balance it, I wake up earlier, I work while they're still sleeping, get things done, and then usually around like 8 o'clock, I shut everything down, and it's family time. So yeah, I would say it's the balance is challenging with what I have right now, but I'm so far making it work.
Well, I always say that we make time in life for the things that we prioritize, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely. And Joey, I'm curious to ask you about your thoughts on if you're a solo entrepreneur, well, what do you think is the keys to a success and really believing in the vision that you've set out for your business?
The keys to what was that? The keys to
So,
just
if you, yeah, if you're a solo
yeah,
entrepreneur, what do you think are the keys to success when you're in business for yourself? What do you think are
gotcha.
the keys there, my friend?
Gotcha. Yeah, I think this is another challenge, and this is about self-motivation, right? So I'm to the point now where, I always tried to do everything myself in the businesses. And, that's not, it's only sustainable. That you have to bring people in to help you, and you have to ask for help. And one thing that I feel like has held me back in my life is I was always too proud to ask for help. And the moment you can just release that and not care and just ask people for help, I've noticed it's helped my businesses so much. And I've realized that people are actually really willing and happy to help if you ask them. But people want to be helpful in general, So yeah, I think the biggest thing is just knowing you can only do so much on your own, and you have to start bringing good people on board.
Yeah, absolutely. And Trevor, how do you define business creativity? Well, what do you mean? What do you think it means to be creative in business?
Well, I always the other analogy that I always use with business is it's very similar to surfing as in the sense that it's like the ocean, right? Like things come in waves. So when you're surfing, waves come in. It's not always the same. Sometimes you have three or four waves that come at once. Sometimes there's one, and then there's a long break. And so it's really similar to business. You kind of have to go with the flow, and you have to pick and choose. You don't take every wave. You pass some waves up and whatnot. So I really think you just have to like go with the flow, like the ocean, and just the ebbs and flows of life, business. I feel like it's for me, it's really helped me to kind of understand and also embrace the pitfalls of business, because you always run into some issues and there's fires to put out, whether it's clients or you made a mistake and you spent too much money on one aspect of the business and you have to adjust. And so it's all about like the flow, and that's how I've been doing it. It's really been helping me.
Yeah, absolutely. And Trevor, what's your definition of happiness? And really believing in the possibilities that you've set out for your life. So, what's your definition of happiness and believing in possibility?
So my definition of happiness is having free time to spend with friends and family, and those that I love. So, you know, that's to me, that's the most important. I create businesses so that I have freedom, and I can go do things random. If my son is going to be, he's playing baseball or whatever it is, I can drop what I'm doing and then go watch him, or go with him, or take him, or whatever, right? So I want to be able to have free time and to hang out with those that I really cherish and love to be around. And
Yeah,
so yeah, so that's my definition of happiness.
yeah, absolutely. And my friend, I'm curious to know, why do you think it's important that people lean into really tapping into their untapped potential?
Uh to their untapped potential. So I think I really believe that 90% of people out there don't understand what they're capable of. And I think, we've been raised, by media and by maybe our parents and people that have told us that, oh yeah, don't think so big. You're thinking too big, and that can't be done, or 90% of businesses fail after 3 years and whatnot, right? Like you hear so much negative, there's so much doubt out there. And I think if people just they're opened up to the idea of anything is possible, and you never know until you really give it some effort. I think people would be surprised on what they can accomplish.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Jeremy, my final question for you has to do with your own individual and personal legacy, my friend. And how do you want your legacy to be defined?
I just want I would just like people to know and remember me that, I whatever I did, I gave it my all. I kept my word, and and I lived more selfless than selfish. I want people to know that you know, I gave more than I took.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jeremy, I have one more for you. I'm curious to ask you about what do you think it means to show up in every aspect of your life? So, what does it mean to you to show up in life, my friend?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think, you know, for me, showing up just means that I'm my true self and I'm bringing my truth to whoever I am encountering. And I'm not wearing the mask. I'm not trying to hide. I'm being who I am and bringing my truth and just being myself, and just being me and not being ashamed of what that is.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I always tell people to celebrate their differences because it's a diversity of perspective that we can all learn from, right?
100%. Yeah,
A-
100% agree.
Absolutely. And Jordan, finally tell me, if people want to get connected with you, my friend, what's the best way they can do that?
Yeah, so if you want to I can reach out to my Instagram, which is Jeremy Ryan double underscore, or as far as websites, you go to jeremyryanlife.com, and that's kind of where I have a little bit of everything that I'm working on. You can contact me through that. If you're interested in like marketing work or any design work, our company is subtideagency.com. And the clothing line is ruettclothing.com, Ruett. And if anyone wants a surf lesson, if you're in California, hit me up. It's SPF surfschool.com. So those are my three. But Jeremy Ryan Life, if you go there, you can get a hold of me either company.
Oh, fantastic. Well, my friend, I have to tell you, I really admire your ambition and zest for maximizing life, my friend. I want to thank you for the good work that you do in the space of entrepreneurship and lifting up people to move the needle of progress forward, my friend. Your work in the space and time on my behalf is most appreciated, and I want to thank you for being here this afternoon.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you and everything you're doing, and you came with some amazing questions. So it was a great conversation for sure. Thank you so much.